I work front desk at a 5-star hotel in Vienna. An American checked in wearing flip-flops and a tank top that said, "Beer me." He walked straight to our Michelin-recommended restaurant and got offended when the maitre d' explained our dress code. He said, "This is a hotel restaurant. I'm a guest. I paid for this room, so I paid for access to this restaurant." I explained guests still need proper attire. He shook his head. In America, the customer is always right. That's a universal business principle. I told him this was Austria, not America. He laughed. Same difference. You guys basically invented hotels and we perfected them. So technically, I'm more qualified to know hotel rules than you are. He walked out muttering about discrimination. Left a review saying we banned Americans from eating. We didn't ban him. We just asked him to wear pants. My colleague in Stockholm had someone show up to a business meeting in shorts because Sweden is so casual and progressive. The meeting was with the CEO. My friend in Paris watched an American try to high-five a museum director during a formal gallery opening. In Munich, someone wore a baseball cap to an opera premiere and couldn't understand why people stared. Another American in Milan asked why Italians dressed up just to buy groceries and said it was exhausting to watch. Americans think Europe is either a medieval theme park where everyone wears suits, or Scandinavia is a casual utopia where rules don't exist. The reality is far more complicated, and the misunderstandings create daily chaos for those of us who work here. A tourist wandered into my friend's law office in Amsterdam. She was a receptionist at a firm near the canals. The American asked for directions and then sat down in the waiting area. Took off his shoes. Put his feet on the coffee table. She asked if he had an appointment. He said no, just waiting for his wife to finish shopping. She explained this was a private office, not a public space. He looked around at the minimalist furniture and open layout. This is Holland. You guys are famous for being relaxed. That's literally your whole thing. She told him they were a law firm representing international corporations. He waved that away. Yeah, but you legalized weed, so you're obviously cool about everything. She explained drug policy and professional standards were completely separate. He didn't move his feet. I saw a documentary about Dutch work culture. Everyone bikes to work and wears jeans. That's basically pajamas compared to America. She told him senior partners were in a meeting upstairs and the office had standards. He rolled his eyes. Fine, I'll go. But you should tell your bosses they're killing the Netherlands brand. He left a complaint on Google saying the firm was betraying Dutch values. The complaint included a 2-paragraph essay about how the Netherlands was losing its identity by having dress codes. My cousin works at a bank in Copenhagen. An American walked in to open an account wearing a hoodie and sunglasses. My cousin asked him to remove the sunglasses for identification. He refused. Said in America, banks were stuffy and corporate, but he'd read Denmark was different. You're basically socialist, right? That means no dress codes. My cousin explained socialism had nothing to do with banking security protocols. The American argued that Scandinavian countries were famous for work-life balance and casual attitude. I read that Danes leave work at 3 and everyone's super informal. My cousin told him she left at 5. This was a bank with security requirements, and he still needed to remove his sunglasses. He took them off but kept the hoodie up. Called the bank oppressively formal for a country that invented hygge. Left muttering about false advertising. Later emailed asking why Danish banking wasn't as chill as IKEA made it seem. The email was 12 paragraphs long and included links to articles about Scandinavian happiness. My cousin never responded. I have a friend who works at a tech startup in Berlin. An American joined their team remotely and flew in for an in-person meeting. Showed up in sweatpants and a wrinkled t-shirt. The meeting was with investors. She pulled him aside beforehand and suggested he change. He was confused. This is Berlin. You guys are famously cool. I've seen photos of your techno clubs. Everyone wears whatever. She explained nightclubs and investor meetings had different expectations. He pushed back. But this is a startup. Steve Jobs wore jeans. That's the whole point of tech culture. She told him this was Germany, not Silicon Valley, and their investors were traditional financiers. He refused to change. Said he was bringing authentic startup energy. The investors were polite but cold. Afterward, he complained the investors were too German and didn't understand real innovation culture. He lasted 3 months. Left saying Berlin wasn't as cool as Instagram made it look. Posted a LinkedIn essay about how European tech culture was stuck in the past and afraid of disruption. I work at a university administration office in Prague. An American exchange student came in to dispute a grade. Barged past the line, interrupted my conversation with another student, and demanded immediate help. I asked him to wait his turn. He said, "In America, we value efficiency. Standing in line is a waste of time." I told him we also valued efficiency, which is why we had a system. He ignored that. "Look, I need this fixed today. I'm a paying student." I explained tuition here was nearly free, so that argument held no weight. He switched tactics. "Fine, but Czech Republic is Eastern European. You guys are supposed to be, like, friendly and hospitable." I told him we were Central European, and hospitality didn't mean tolerating rudeness. He raised his voice. "I'm not being rude. I'm being direct. That's how Americans communicate. We don't do all these fake politeness." I explained that what he called directness we called skipping social norms. He accused me of making things unnecessarily complicated. I told him to take a number and wait. He filed a complaint saying Czech universities discriminated against American communication styles. The complaint was dismissed. He never did wait his turn. Instead, he sent 4 follow-up emails, each longer than the last, explaining why his approach was more evolved. My friend works at a government office in Brussels. An American expat came in to register for residency. Showed up 15 minutes late with no documents. She asked where his paperwork was. He said, "I thought Europe was more relaxed about this stuff. Aren't you guys famous for long lunches and siestas?" She told him Belgium wasn't Spain, and even Spain had administrative requirements. He said he'd email the documents later. She explained he needed physical copies today or he'd have to reschedule. He got frustrated. "This is so typically European. You guys have all these rules for no reason. In America, we just handle this online." She informed him their online system existed but required pre-registration he hadn't completed. He asked why they didn't tell him that. She pointed to the website, the email confirmation he'd received, and the instruction sheet in his hand. He insisted he'd never seen any of it. "You guys need better communication. This is why America invented customer service." She told him his appointment was over and he could rebook online. He said that was hostile. Left a review calling Belgian bureaucracy a human rights violation. Still hasn't submitted his documents. Last month, he emailed asking if they'd figured out the online system yet because he was ready to try again. "I know someone who works at a pharmacy in Budapest. An American tourist demanded antibiotics without a prescription. My friend explained that wasn't possible. The American said, 'But this is Hungary. You're supposed to be less strict than Western Europe.' My friend asked where he'd heard that. He said, 'It's just common knowledge. Former Soviet countries are more flexible.' She told him Hungary had been in the EU for 20 years and followed the same pharmaceutical regulations as France or Germany. He didn't believe her. Then why is everything so cheap here? She explained cost of living and purchasing power. He interrupted. "Whatever. I just need the medicine. I'm an American. We basically fund NATO, which protects you guys, so I feel like you owe us. She stared at him. He kept going. Plus, I have a flight tomorrow. This is urgent. She suggested he visit a doctor. He said he didn't have time and doctors were a scam anyway. She refused to serve him. He asked for her manager. Her manager said the same thing. He left threatening to call the American embassy. Later posted online that Hungarian pharmacies refuse to help Americans and still act like communists. The post got 17 comments, all from locals explaining how pharmacies work. My sister works at a tourist information center in Zurich. An American walked in and asked where the Eiffel Tower was. She told him that was in Paris, France. He looked annoyed. Yeah, but how far is it from here? She said about 500 kilometers. He was shocked. That's in Europe though. You guys are all connected. She explained Europe had many countries, each with their own cities. He insisted it couldn't be that far because Europe is small. She pulled up a map. He stared at it. This is confusing. Why isn't there just one big Europe? She told him there were 27 EU countries plus others. He asked how long it would take to drive. She said 6 hours minimum. He said that was ridiculous and asked why there wasn't a train. She explained there were trains, but they still took 4 hours. He wanted to know why Switzerland didn't just build a faster train. She told him Switzerland didn't control French infrastructure. He left saying European geography was poorly designed. Later asked another tourist center if they had a map that made more sense. I have a cousin who drives a taxi in Rome. An American tourist got in and asked to go to Venice. My cousin clarified. Venice, the city 350 miles away? The American said yes. My cousin told him that would cost over 500 euros and take 7 hours. The American was offended. That's insane. Venice is in Italy. This is Italy. It should be like 30 minutes. My cousin explained Italy was a country, not a city. The American argued he'd seen Venice and Rome in the same travel brochure, so they must be close. My cousin showed him a map on his phone. The American zoomed out. Okay, but look how small Italy is on the world map. America is way bigger. My cousin told him physical size didn't change driving distance. The American asked if there was a faster route. My cousin suggested a train. The American asked why he couldn't just drive faster. My cousin told him there were speed limits. The American said, "This is why nobody visits Europe. Everything's too spread out." He got out of the taxi. Never went to Venice. The best story came from my friend who works at a theater in Oslo. They were hosting a classical concert. An American couple showed up in workout clothes. Literally leggings and athletic sneakers. She stopped them at the door and explained the dress code. The man said, "We just came from the gym. We're tourists. We didn't bring fancy clothes." She suggested they return another night or at least change into jeans. The woman got defensive. "This is Norway. You guys are supposed to be egalitarian. Judging people by their clothes is classist." My friend explained the dress code applied to everyone equally, regardless of nationality or income. The man jumped in. "We paid for these tickets. That's a contract. You have to let us in." She told him the ticket terms included dress requirements, printed on the back of each ticket. He pulled out his phone. "I'm going to look up Norwegian discrimination laws because I'm pretty sure this is illegal." She waited. He scrolled for 2 minutes. Found nothing. Put his phone away. "Fine. We'll leave. But just so you know, this is why America is better. We don't have all these elitist rules." They walked out. 20 minutes later, they returned wearing the same outfits but with jackets tied around their waists. Said they'd fixed the problem and met the dress code requirements now. She let them in because technically they'd tried. They sat through the entire concert whispering about how uncomfortable the seats were and how American theaters had better acoustic. Here's what Americans miss. Formality in Europe isn't about being uptight or snobbish. It's about context. A casual cafe in Stockholm still expects you to wear shoes. A laid-back startup in Berlin still wants you to dress up for investors. A friendly office in Amsterdam still maintains professional boundaries. The rules aren't stricter or looser than America, they're just different, and they matter in different situations. What looks relaxed on the surface often has invisible social codes underneath. What seems formal might just be baseline respect. And geography isn't optional. Countries have borders, capitals, and actual distances between them. If you've ever confused relaxed with no standards, or thought formality only existed in England, or assumed all of Europe was walking distance, drop your story below. And if you're American reading this, Europe isn't a monolith. Every country has its own rules, expectations, and geographical reality. Maybe learn them before you lecture locals about their culture, complain about train schedules, or show up to a concert in gym clothes.